The world is full of weak men, men who have surrendered their power, men who wake up every day not with fire in their hearts but with fear. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of stepping up and being who they were born to be. And then there are those who celebrate this weakness, who take pride in their mediocrity. They flood the internet with their self-imposed victimhood, recording themselves whining about their problems instead of fixing them. They cry about how life is unfair, about how women don't respect them, about how society is too hard, and they want the rest of us to applaud them for it. Pathetic. This is the modern disease. A world where men are rewarded for being soft, where being spineless is considered a bravery, and where showing weakness is seen as a virtue. Cries on camera, and they say he's so strong for showing his emotions. But what does he do after that? Nothing. He wallows in his sadness, looking for sympathy instead of solutions. That's not strength. That's an excuse. Weak men complain. Strong men conquer. A real man sees his problems and says, "This is on me." He doesn't blame society. He doesn't blame society. He doesn't blame women. He doesn't blame his past. He takes responsibility, gets up, and finds a way to win. That's what separates the top 1% from the losers sitting in the comments section, defending their failures like it's some kind of badge of honor. These weak men don't realize that every time they embrace their own excuses, they dig their graves deeper. They post their sad little videos, acting like the world is supposed to stop and feel sorry for them. But guess what? The world doesn't care. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you success, respect, or power. You have two choices: stay weak and get left behind, or step up and take control. Every time you open your phone and see these so-called many complaining, ask yourself, do I want to be like that? Do I want to be the kind of person who sits around making excuses, waiting for life to change? Or do I want to be the kind of man who goes out, makes money, builds power, commands respect, and takes what he wants from life? Because here's the truth: life is war. It's a battle for status, wealth, respect, and power. And the battlefield is littered with men who gave up, who accepted their mediocrity, who became background characters in their own stories. The weak will always hate the strong. They will call them toxic. They will call them toxic. They will call them arrogant. They will call them lucky. Anything to avoid facing the truth that they could have been strong too, but they chose not to be. So, laugh at these videos, watch these men embarrass themselves, and use them as a reminder of what you should never become. Let them be a lesson in what happens when you let society convince you that weakness is acceptable. Because in the real world, weak men get crushed. They get ignored. They get nothing. Be strong. Be ruthless. Be unstoppable. Because the only other option is to be like them, crying into a camera, hoping someone will care. And no one does. No one cares about your excuses. No one is coming to save you. The world is not your mother, cradling you in her arms, telling you everything is going to be okay. The world is a battlefield, and only the strong survive. Yet, here we are, watching grown men humiliate themselves for likes and sympathy. They sit in their dimly lit rooms, scrolling through their phones, waiting for someone to validate their emotions. And when they don't get the validation they want, they throw tantrums like children. This is what happens when men are raised without discipline, without struggle, without hardship. They become soft, complacent, and completely useless. And instead of fixing themselves, they double down, convincing themselves that being weak is somehow brave. Imagine a warrior walking onto a battlefield with no armor, no weapons, and no will to fight. Just a list of complaints about how the war isn't fair. That's what these men have become. They sit in their comfortable little bubbles, afraid to face reality. They blame society, their parents, the economy, everything except themselves. And while they cry about how hard life is, real men are out there winning, building businesses, strengthening their bodies, developing their minds, creating power, respect, and wealth. It's a choice. You can choose to be the guy who wastes his life complaining, hoping for sympathy, or you can choose to be the guy who gets up and does something about it. You can choose to cry on TikTok about how no one respects you, or you can choose to become a man that demands respect through his actions. Success doesn't come to those who wait for permission. Power isn't handed out like candy. You don't get respect just because you exist. You have to take it. Earn it. Fight for it. And the men at the top, the ones who actually have the life that others dream of, they don't waste a second feeling sorry for themselves. They don't look at weak men and say, "Oh, Poor guy. They laugh because weakness is a choice. Look at the men you admire. The ones who have built empires, who have bodies carved from stone, who walk into a room and command attention without saying a word. Do you think they got there by sitting in front of a camera, whining about life? Do you think they spent their time making sad little videos hoping for someone to tell them it's okay? No, they got up, they worked, they suffered, they struggled, and they won. You have the same choice in front of you. You can be another nameless face in the crowd, blending in with the masses of weak men who do nothing with their lives. Or you can decide right now that you will be different, that you will be relentless, that you will refuse to be anything less than great. Because in the end, there are two types of men, those who win and those who watch others win. And if you waste your time being weak, being soft, being a victim, you already know which category you fall in. So ask yourself, are you going to be the man who takes life by the throat and forces it to give you what you want? Or are you going to be just another statistic in the growing population of forgotten men? The choice is yours. But if you choose weakness, don't be surprised when the world steps right over you without a second thought. And that's the brutal reality. No one is waiting for you to succeed. No one is holding a trophy for participation. If you don't rise, if you don't conquer, you will be discarded, overlooked, forgotten. Think about the men who spend their days whining on social media, complaining about how unfair life is. Where do they end up? Broke, lonely, powerless. The world doesn't bend to their sadness. The world steps over them, moves past them, leaves them behind. Leaves them behind. They sit in their rooms, scrolling, watching real men take action while they do nothing. Meanwhile, the ones who refuse to be weak are out there winning. They are dominating in business, in relationships, in life. They aren't crying into a camera. They're too busy building empires. And here's the thing. Every second you waste feeling sorry for yourself is a second you could have used to get ahead. While some guy is on TikTok talking about how women don't respect him, another man is out there building himself into someone worthy of respect. While one man is making excuses for why he's failing, another man is finding a way to win. The difference? Mindset. Winners don't think like losers. They don't complain, they adjust. They don't cry, they strategize. They don't wait for someone to tell them what to do. They figure it out themselves. And that's what separates the elite from the mediocre. The men who command respect from the men who beg for it. So you have to ask yourself, what kind of man do you want to be? Because this isn't just about a few cringe-worthy TikTok videos. This is about a culture of weakness that is infecting men all over the world. A culture that tells you it's okay to be soft, to be passive, to be weak, but it's a lie. Weak men are not rewarded. Weak men are not respected. Weak men are not remembered. Strength is everything. Power is everything. Confidence, status, dominance. These are the traits that separate those who win from those who fade into obscurity. And here's the cold, hard truth. No one cares about the men who gave up. No one remembers the men who stayed weak. The world will not stop for you. The world will not feel sorry for you. The world belongs to those who take it. So the question is simple. Are you going to be the man who sits in the shadows complaining about how unfair life is? Or are you going to rise, to fight, to take what's yours? Because the ones at the top, the ones with power, money, respect? They didn't get there by accident. They got there because they refused to be anything less than great. And if you don't start making that choice today, you'll wake up years from now, still stuck in the same place, watching others succeed while you wonder why nothing changed. The truth is, nothing will change unless you change. Change is not comfortable. Growth is not easy. The path to power, respect, and dominance is paved with struggle, pain, and relentless discipline. But that's the cost of greatness. That's the price of success. And the truth is, most men aren't willing to pay it. Instead, they take the easy route. They complain, they beg for attention, they seek validation instead of self-improvement. And then they wonder why no one respects them. They wonder why they're stuck in the same miserable cycle while the strong rise above them. If you want to be a man who wins, you must do what weak men refuse to. You must embrace hardship, attack life with an unstoppable mindset, and reject the pathetic culture of victimhood that is spreading like a disease. You must refuse to be another nameless, faceless nobody whining on the internet, begging for sympathy, because no one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you success. No one is going to respect you just because you exist. Respect is earned. Power is taken. So here's the final question. The only question that matters. Are you going to step up? Are you going to take control of your life? Are you going to rise above the weak masses and become something more? Or are you going to stay in the shadows, watching real men win while you sit on the sidelines, wondering where it all went wrong? This is your wake-up call. No more excuses. No more weakness. No more weakness. No more waiting. You either decide right now that you are done being average, or you accept that you'll be left behind. The choice is yours. But understand this, history doesn't remember the weak. It doesn't reward the lazy. It doesn't care about those who never tried. It only remembers the men who took what they wanted